You know what? I'm not even surprised. For a second, I thought, how could the Astra Wonderland situation get 100 times worse since the last time we talked about it? Then I remembered that Genshin and HSR are in agreed competition. I didn't think I would make this video, but the more I looked into it, the more I slowly realized that this is the worst addition to this game since Stygian Onslaught. But the thing is, at least that was an endgame mode. It built on what they already had in the base game, and it was at least something to keep the late game players engaged. Instead, they opted for something completely random that had nothing to do with Genshin Impact. The only reason they could take a risk like this is because they make millions per month, so your favorite whale probably funded this endeavor. Go ahead and tell them thank you for me. Do you really want to get an idea of the amount of effort that Genshin put into a mode like this? Well, let's see how they're advertising it.
Hello, traveler. Welcome to Genshin Impact's Astra Wonderland. This video will walk you through the following. What is Astra Wonderland? The advantages of creating in Astra Wonderland, and how to create in Astra Wonderland. First, what is Astra Wonderland? In Astra Wonderland, not only can travelers play various Wonderland stages created by other travelers. Astra Wonderland.
So does something about this sound a little off to you? Well, if it didn't, then you probably have a pretty high chance of getting scammed. Because yes, that was AI. I'm not even trying to make jokes because this one just wrote itself. So I don't know what you want me to say. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me not be insensitive. Maybe the billion-dollar company is on a budget right now, because I just remembered that they don't care about the money. So this is all they could probably afford to do. Anyways, I can't take this company serious at all. This is just classic Genshin Impact, clearly showing that they don't care if we know that they're putting no effort into this game anymore, because somebody is gonna eat this shit up anyway. And this AI stuff will probably make its way into the actual game when it comes to the voice acting. Don't be surprised when your favorite character sounds a little robotic in the near future. Before you even get the chance to experience the greatest piece of media ever created, just like any other Genshin Impact new game mode, you are automatically bombarded with lore. This is classic. No matter what it is, they have to yap your ear off with a bunch of random lore. And you know what? I would actually be okay with this if there was a skip button. It's just comical at this point that I still have to bring it up, but that argument is just undefeated. But you know what? At this point, it's iconic for Genshin to not have the skip button, so they might as well keep it out. It's funny that even frame one of this Astra Wonderland experience, or should I say Ass, you're already being inconvenienced to this extent because of something that can be fixed literally in an instant and make the game 10 times better overall. And that was always one of my main issues with Genshin Impact. It's probably the most inconvenient game I've ever played. Other Hoyo games are pretty inconvenient too, especially if we're talking about the UI from ZZZ, but Genshin is in a whole different league. But it gets worse than that, of course, because none of that is anything too crazy. What really disturbed me about the UGC was the insane cosmetic monetization. Now you could say cosmetics don't matter and they don't affect your gameplay, but when you look like an absolute NPC with your default clothes on, that's a bit of an issue. When I first saw that there were going to be cosmetics in this mode, I did try to cope and thought maybe they would just be free, but that was the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, there is a gacha system. So because they did this, they can separate these costumes into crafting materials, which is awesome because they could make this as convoluted as possible in order to get you to spend on the limited time outfits. But that isn't even the worst part. Both on the standard banner and the limited time banner, you can't choose whether you want the female outfit or the male outfit. So when you get to pity, I'm pretty sure it's 70, you get a male or a female outfit at random. So if you get to pity and pull a female outfit and you're rocking the male character as your main, then you should have just pulled better. I don't know about you, but I'm honestly shocked that Genshin was comfortable doing this. Maybe it's because my expectations were unreasonably high for Hoyo, but who actually thinks that this is okay? There's always these hurdles that you have to jump through when it comes to the systems that they implement, And then it's crazy because jumping through all these hoops can give you a false sense of accomplishment when you finally get what you want. But in reality, this is just inconvenient garbage to rage bait you into spending money. But don't worry, it gets worse. Apparently, from what I understand, because I don't want to believe this is really the case, the 5-star costumes in this mode are only available through purchase, meaning you have to spend money on them. By the way, I'm not talking about actual 5 stars in the real game of Genshin Impact that have lore, a unique character model and design, voice lines, a kit, signature weapons, etc. We are talking about an outfit. We're talking about characters that wear costumes, and that's it. But it gets even worse. If for some reason you went through all of that to get the costume on the character of your choice that you already paid for, by the way, if you want to do something as privileged as recoloring that costume, you need to pull dupes. Doesn't that sound like I'm just making shit up at this point? Well, I'm sorry to say that I wish I was just exaggerating. But you know what? Never mind. How could you be so spoiled to not want to spend more money after you already opened your wallet? You don't need a simple color changing gadget. Just spend another couple $100s so that you can see a slightly different color from time to time. It's really not a big deal. So that's right. If you want a 5-star outfit, you have to pay to pull on the gacha. Then if you don't get the gender that you want, you're gonna have to pull again. Then if you want the recolor to that outfit, it's back to the gacha you go to get dupes. And then you can still not get the gender that you want. I almost forgot. As for the 4-star outfits that you get on the standard banner, if you want a specific outfit, you might as well just buy it too. Because while technically, yes, you can get these outfits for free, remember, you aren't going to get the exact one you want because it's random. So you might as well just pay the $13 or whatever it is for the outfit if you want a specific one. Otherwise, you just have to cope with what you get, which is awesome. Now, if you're still thinking, why do you care so much about cosmetics? Well, you have to realize that most people don't care about this mode whatsoever because they're here to play Genshin Impact. So the only reason they could be playing this is to customize their mannequin to use in the overworld of the actual game. But if you do care about the gameplay, which could be the saving grace for this mode, then I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but they found a way to make this just as bad as the cosmetics. First of all, why can't you get primo gems in this game mode? If people actually wanted to play this garbage, maybe incentivizing them that way could get them to play. In fact, I guarantee a lot more people would play if that was the case. But instead, the only thing you can do in this mode is give your money to them. And this is the same game that is begging you to pull units in pairs at this point, so there isn't enough pulls in circulation. Weapons have also been a huge increase in damage, and there still isn't a guarantee on the weapon banner. If you do actually like the game modes, then that's fair, but the queue times are terrible. And then apparently sometimes you can't even get into the actual game, because if the game requires a start button and someone isn't cooperating, then the game just never starts. So that's right, there's people throwing games in Genshin Impact like it's Marvel Rivals.
Tesco, why were you banning Iron Man, brother?
I'm selling, for sure.
The UI in Miliastra is just pathetic, unnecessarily confusing, just like the gacha system. So at least they're consistent. And I love the Infinity Nikki comparison people have been making, because yes, there is a ton of similarities between this game mode and Infinity Nikki, but it's funny because I'm sure that Hoyo is fully aware of what pissed off that player base and saw the demise of what could have been great, but Hoyo does not care. They probably had the mindset of, we can do whatever we want. This is Genshin Impact, so people are gonna play the game anyways, which is probably true. People are still gonna buy these costumes, and Columbina is probably still gonna make them $100 million. Duet Night Abyss is coming out in a little under a week now. First impression coming out soon, by the way. But let me remind you that this dev team fully removed the gacha system before the game even came out. And here we have Genshin Impact, with a gacha system simply just for cosmetics. Remember, they are already making a ton of money on the main game and they don't care about the money. So I think it's very embarrassing to release this garbage when a week later a game is coming out that removed the gacha system entirely. A game that just recently revealed their pretty solid gearing system and 15 million users pre-registered. This game probably won't attract the Genshin audience, but I'm sure that Genshin players do notice the generosity from a game like this and would expect Hoyo to step up to the plate and at least give away some 5-star outfits or something so you don't look like one of those generic Genshin NPCs. Genshin is already boring most of the time. The events are absolutely terrible, and if you don't enjoy the story, then there's really nothing for you to do unless you save for multiple patches in a row for meta units in order to do endgame. Astra Wonderland should have been a different game, and it's not like I'm the one who came up with that. This is a sentiment that most of the community has at this point, because Genshin is already a pretty large game. It takes up a lot of gigabytes. So just adding some random slop world into that large file size is probably taking a toll on your devices. This would be like if Genshin just decided to add Petite Planet into the game and try to add some BS lore to make it work. Speaking of Petite Planet, that is probably one of the more hype releases coming up, and I want to be the #1 creator for that game. So stay tuned for aggressively monetized Animal Crossing. Unironically, it might be better than UGC, so there's that. Your word of the day today is going to be Hoyo. Yes, the company responsible for delivering wonderful content for a low price or even for free. An organization dedicated to your enjoyment and an escape from your everyday lives. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you have, you look cute today.